commitment to efficiency, accountability, and ensuring that resources are directed where they matter most, to students, parents, and teachers.
All right, it's official. I am being laid off. Just received my preliminary reduction in force notice that I am, what's the word? Notice of recommendation not to reemploy for 2025-2026. You are receiving this notice either because you serve in a particular kind of service that is being reduced or eliminated. So, can someone please just explain to me how the teacher of the year gets laid off? And yes, I am upset. But I think I'm so angry right now that it's going to take me some time to sift through these emotions. I love my students. I always will.
It's time to speak up. I'm standing outside of the Department of Education building in Washington, D.C. There are reporters lined up across the street because the Trump administration has issued an order that all employees are to vacate this building by 6 o'clock tonight, and that it will be closed tomorrow. And we know that massive cuts and layoffs are coming to the Department of Education. Now, if you haven't read Project 2025, you might not know that eliminating the Department of Education was one of their top goals. They want to eliminate the Department of Education, and they want to cut any and all funding that they can to the states for their education. And why is that? Because an uneducated populace is easier to control. The Trump administration and the Christian nationalists don't want an educated populace. All they want are people who will be slave labor to the billionaires who are going to run the show. They don't want us to know how to read and write and to have critical thinking, because an uneducated populace is easier to control. Go out there and love your neighbor.
So the Department of Education is going to have 50% of their staff gone, deleted, out of there, fired, because Trump said so. Because Trump already had came and said that he's going to dismantle the Department of Education. He told the lady that's going to be over it that pretty much that I want you to do your job so good to where you don't have a job. So you hired her so she could fire herself. What are we doing? What are we doing? Now, I'm still going to continue to mind my business, but I'm going to be educated while I'm minding my business, okay? Now, I'm a school teacher. And, everyone says, hey, when it comes to education, that it should be up to the states. Baby, it is. I live in Texas. Our governor has been holding money from public schools for the longest because he wants to privatize them. Okay? He don't want, we don't get as much funds as we supposed to be getting. Teachers are about to quit. Okay, y'all, real soon, you're going to see next school year, you're going to be getting letters from your school saying your child will be in a classroom with an uncertified school teacher due to the fact that we do not have any school teachers that are certified. Happens all the time. But this time, this go around going into next year, because a lot of people are going to get out of education because they think they're not going to have a job. Why would I wait around to see if I'm going to have a job? I'm just going to make a plan to exit. Okay, whether that be go work at somewhere at a grocery store. Some of these jobs are paying more, doing small little tasks than it is as an educator, right? So we're about to hit those times. It happens every year, but this time I feel like I said this last year, but I feel like this upcoming school year, y'all are going to get those letters. Half the time y'all get them, y'all don't even read them. So sometimes y'all don't even pay attention to what it is, okay? But it's coming, okay? So if anything, you don't do nothing, you might want to be sitting down working with your kids at home, because real soon, some of us ain't going to have no schools. Keep messing with him, because he don't want educated people.
My name is Ms. Torres, and I am one of the 387 educators at my school district who was laid off last Friday. Every day I walk into my classroom and I have this internal battle with myself over why I should keep going. I have considered leaving education altogether, not because I want to, but because of the lack of respect for educators in the United States. I am not just a number. I am a tenured teacher. I am the history department chair at my school, and my entire department was wiped out. Over the past 4 years, I've been working tirelessly to make our history courses more equitable for the students we serve. I currently teach AP US History and Government and Politics. Next year, I was set to introduce a new course for my department. When I was informing my students that I've been laid off, they shouted in frustration. Many who signed up for my course was only because I was going to be their teacher. I am not just a number. I am a first-generation Mexican-American who became a teacher to educate students like me. When I was in school, the representation was scarce. Just when we finally got it together, these massive layoffs are threatening to erase the progress we've made. I fear for the future of my school. We have worked so hard to create a strong and positive school culture, and losing more than half of our staff will destroy everything we've created.
You met him in February, and in March he needed money.
Yes.
Okay. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. That's a bill.
Take all our student loans and transfer them from the Department of Education to any other department. I'm talking about Commerce, Treasury. If they do that, don't you dare pay them. Not one red cent. We're not sending money willy-nilly all over the government to whatever department he tells us to. Absolutely not. Read the fine print. Read your promissory note. Those loans are held by the Department of Education. And if that department no longer exists, neither do my loans. Matter of fact, if you're firing everybody, firing half the workforce, sent everybody home with their laptop, told them to work remotely, everybody that's at home, why don't you go ahead, press a few buttons, touch the keyboard, and get rid of all our student loans. Go ahead and eradicate them right now. Because we're not paying them anyway. If you think the Department of Education closing has nothing to do with you, really? If you work in K-12 education, if you're a teacher in K-12 education, if you're a principal, administrator, if you have a child in K-12 education, this affects you too. Billions of dollars go to fund public education annually. If you work in higher education, any aspect of college or university education, if you're a student at education, if you're a parent that has a college educated child, this affects you too. You have graduated from college and now have student loan debt. This affects you also. They manage and allocate over $100 billion in student loans, $30 billion in Pell Grants. Those are about to be cut. Federal loans about to be cut. Institutional aid to colleges about to be cut. Some colleges might have to close, especially state-funded colleges that depend on federal funding. They may not operate or have the funds to operate or be operational. My husband and I both tutor and stay after school. He runs summer school. He runs night school. That's all federal funding. And I know some funding comes from the state, but the states depend on federal funding, especially for Title I schools, rural schools, urban schools, poor kids, all those programs. Cut, cut, cut. They cutting staff. They about to cut the money too. That's on the way. That's a sure sign of that. Pell Grants might get cut. Student loans might be gone. Your FAFSA data might not be processed or processed so slow and in a way that you don't get any aid. It's almost like last year. All over again. That entire debacle and mess that we all dealt with. Loan repayments, IDR payments, done. Loan forgiveness, gone. Forgiveness applications, eradicated, disappeared, or just flat out being denied altogether. We told you this would happen. I said it back in November. You all voted for that man, and this is what was coming down the pike. I told you. I told you. I told you. I told you. I told you.
300 employees from the Santa Ana Unified School District, including teachers and counselors, received provisional layoff notices last week. Among those affected is a celebrated educator. NBC4's Amber Frias joins us now live from Santa Ana with the emotional roller coaster for that teacher. Amber.
Hey, Carolyn. For Noelle Campbell, an 8th grade teacher at Manuel Esqueda Elementary and Intermediate School, teaching is not only something she loves to do, it's something she's been honored for doing so well. And she tells me that after so many years of hard work and dedication to the district, she feels frustrated when learning that she may lose her job along with hundreds of other teachers. Just 1 year after being named Teacher of the Year at Manuel Esqueda Elementary and Intermediate School, Noelle Campbell now faces an uncertain future.
Listen.
The middle school teacher was among hundreds of Santa Ana Unified School District employees notified they may lose their jobs due to massive budget cuts.
Friday at 4 o'clock, our district emailed all of the employees who are going to be potentially laid off a reduction in force notice, non-returnable for the 2025-2026 school year.
The district cites a $187 million budget deficit driven by the end of COVID-19 relief funds and a 32% drop in enrollment over the last decade. In a statement, they said in part, quote, "This staff reduction is a necessary step to ensure the district remains financially solvent and can continue serving our students and families," end quote. The district also says the layoffs are primarily based on seniority. But for Campbell, an 8-year teacher with the district, the news came as a shock, especially after she says she learned she was a finalist for a national teaching award.
Literally Friday, I get a text, "You're in the top 20." And then a few hours later, "You're not being asked to return next year," from my own district. It felt like a high to a low in one day.
In total, 387 employees received preliminary layoff notices last week. But the district says some positions could be restored before the board makes the final decision on May 15th. Campbell says the uncertainty is frustrating, so much so she's considered leaving teaching altogether.
If I am laid off, I'm leaving this profession because I feel disrespected by the profession, and I don't understand in what, logic does the highest acclaimed teacher have to start over in their career.
And the district says it may rescind up to 100 layoff notices before the final decision is made. Again, this happens in May. Reporting live in Santa Ana, Amber Frias, NBC4 News.
Teaching in this country is like being on a roller coaster that I can't fucking get off, and I don't even fucking like roller coasters, okay? I have spent 5.5 years in college, $65,000. I am now a teacher at a Title I in a state that is in the bottom 10 of the 50 states, okay? We're not known for education, right? I love my school. It's nothing against my school, but the state very clearly does not value a good education for its citizens. And it's probably because we have a lot of snowbirds. Why would they give a fuck? But you know who else doesn't give a fuck? Our president. And the thing that really bothers me is if you consistently put down getting an education and devalue an education, it only makes the next generation easier to manipulate. Our kids can't read, they can't write, they can't do math. And trust me, I teach middle school. If they can't do those skills in middle school, they're not going to develop them by the time they graduate high school. You can try, and believe me, I do, but they need those in elementary. That's where it starts. It really starts at home if we want to get specific, but parents aren't ready to hear that it's also their fault. And if those kids then grow up and they start hearing the leader of our country, who should be a role model, our president should be someone that people can look up to and respect, and they see them devaluing education, they see them spouting facts, these kids don't know how to analyze things. They don't know how to interpret things. They don't know how to fact check someone. Those are skills that they're likely not going to have a good, solid grasp on by the time they graduate high school with where they're at right now. How are they not going to avoid being manipulated? I'm just questioning if we're failing these kids and we're just moving them on to grade before they understand anything, they become really dumb adults. There's a reason why people that are highly educated tend to often be more left-leaning. It's not just, the liberals, they just bring more empathy. You are exposed to more people. You're exposed to different cultures. You're exposed to more facts besides the one sheltered view of facts. So you're going to have a much deeper understanding where the other side doesn't really support that. They want you to hear what they say and just say, yes, sir. And that's where we're headed. I don't think that I have a future to be a teacher in this country with where we're at. And all I ever wanted was to be a teacher. And it's really depressing. And I don't know how much longer I can stay on this ride before I have a mental breakdown. I'm so scared for these kids.